Oh, Robert Klemko of MMQB. All right, hey, we're stirring it up here, Robert. Here with your recap your Cleveland Browns tweet for everybody.
Well, I think that all you see right now is, hey, the Browns are considering Baker Mayfield, or the Browns are considering Josh Allen, or the Browns are considering taking quarterbacks at 1 and 4. And I think that it's a lot more simple than that. I think John Dorsey knows who he's going to pick. He's not telling anybody close to him. He's not telling his friends. He's not telling Scott McCloughan. And I don't think he's telling Hugh Jackson either. Just from everything I've heard about the way they've operated the last few months, Hugh is on the hot seat. He's going to be coaching for his job. So John's not going to be picking guys according to Hugh's mold for offensive players. It's going to be according to what John thinks is in the best interest of the long-term success of the football team. And, that's not like – those aren't observations that generate headlines, but I don't think it's as complicated as we're portraying it.
But how do we know that he's not telling his people? Like, who's reporting that information? If nobody else is talking, how do we know that he's not giving any kind of information to his team?
Well, I think a lot of people have reported that people in the Browns organization say that they're considering so-and-so or so-and-so was in high consideration. Mm-hmm. But it would be in absolutely John's worst interest to talk to his staff about his plan at number one. Obviously they have a board and they have people that they like and they've people that they've scouted that they feel are worthy of the 1 and 4 picks. But John knows right now who he's picking at 1, and it would make no sense for him to tell anybody. He has nothing to gain in telling anybody in that organization what his plan at 1 is.
Well, the information I got was that it was Allen and Baker Mayfield and that Sam Darnold wasn't in the mix, which surprised me because if I'm the Browns, I would take Sam Darnold. So this wasn't that somebody – the person who told me is not talking to somebody in the Browns organization in management. I want to be careful here. So and there's no agenda to it. It was just I was surprised that Sam Darnold was not in the mix, that it was Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen. I think that was the news, that Mayfield was back in and maybe Sam Darnold was not. So, whatever that information does to this process moving forward, I'm not sure, but that's what I was told.
I'd be shocked if John hadn't already come to a decision on the single player that he's going to pick, more than 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I don't think that Darnold is out of consideration. And I think that when names like Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield are thrown out there, and by the way, every single quarterback in the top from the first round of this draft has been tied to the Browns at 1 at some point or another. And I think that, in putting out information indirectly or directly that says, hey, we're still looking at this guy, we're still considering this guy, you are enticing teams like the Giants or the Jets at 3 or the Broncos at 5 to look at that and say, hey, maybe we do need to trade up to 1, or maybe we do need to trade up to 2 to get our guy, because now the Browns are talking about how Josh Allen isn't going to be available beyond 1.
Are you hearing any trades? What's the trade to keep, or the team or trade to keep an eye on?
I don't think there's a way that Indianapolis holds on to that 6th pick for a couple reasons. There's going to be probably a 4th quarterback available there, whether it's Rosen or Allen or Mayfield or Darnold. And I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be really motivated and have the assets in the 2nd round, especially, to move up to that spot and get their guy. The other reason is they're transitioning from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 with Matt Eberflus. So they have 4 or 5 positions in the front 7 that they need to build depth and find some quality starters at right away, or that's going to be a disaster. So I think that they're probably the most motivated team to move back and stockpile picks.
The other thing that I found out, Robert, on Monday was that the Giants' ownership likes Saquon Barkley. Everybody else likes Sam Darnold. What do you make of that?
I could see that. I mean, I think ownership probably is looking at it from the perspective of we've got 2 or maybe even 3 more good years of Eli Manning as an above-average NFL starter. And if we can bring in a power running game like we had, 10 years ago, then maybe that's the formula for success. I think that Dave Gettleman coming in probably sees a franchise passer in this draft and has identified him and feels like that's the move at number 2, because just for the same reasons. Eli Manning is a pretty good player still, and they're never going to have the number 2 pick again while he's a starter. So if the guy you like, who's number 1 on your board, is still there at 2, I think that you pick that quarterback. If your guy is gone, then I think you pick the running back.
How many owners, aside from Jerry Jones, do you think make these picks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a case-by-case thing. I don't think Jimmy Haslam has made every first-round pick, but I know he made the Johnny Manziel pick.
He shouldn't be allowed. They should change the code to the room and not allow it. Like, who's there? It's the owner. Huh? What's your name? Sorry, we made the pick, and the Browns take Sam Darnold. So mostly, how many owners?
I think it probably depends on the position. You know, I think if your team's in the market for a quarterback, almost every owner in the league is going to get involved and have some input and really need to be convinced that the person the general manager thinks is the guy is actually the guy. I think that's the case around the league more often than not. If you're in the first round and you're about to pick a defensive tackle, I don't think that the GM really has to break that down to the owner, or the owner is going to burst in the room and say, no, we're picking somebody else. But I think the high-profile positions, the guys that you're going to end up marketing, in terms of, you know, the endorsements and the apparel and all that, the guys that are going to be the face of your franchise, I do think that is an ownership decision more than any position.
Where are you going to be on draft night?
I'll be in Denver Thursday at the Broncos facility. So we'll be writing about them if they make a splash. And then I've been writing the series on Baker Mayfield, so I'll be following up Monday with whichever GM and head coach ends up selecting him.
Robert, thank you. We appreciate your time on short notice, and good luck tomorrow night.
It's all good. Thank you.
That's Robert Klemko, MMQB.com.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.